It'll be my privilege today, after I make just a couple of announcements, to introduce our guests that are with us. And so I'll get right into the announcement. Behind me on the board here, I wrote down a little bit about the Opportunity Quest Entrepreneurship Competition that Snow College is involved in. So you, as a student of Snow College, are eligible to participate in this competition. There are cash prizes up to $1,000 available to those who participate, and it's kind of a business idea competition is what it is, only it's a little bit more involved than the weekly business ideas that you submit, because then you actually carry out your idea just a little further to explain it more in a little bit more detail. It's not a full-blown business plan competition, but it's kind of like that. And in this class, if you participate in that contest, you will earn, for a legitimate submission, you will earn 100 extra credit points, period, whether you win or not. So, yeah, you can sign up. You can partner with him to sign up. You actually can, yeah. 50-50 split. 50-50 split. Actually, a lot of students do have partners that are not students at the college, because they do have some sort of a very legitimate business idea, and they want to use other people's help with that idea. And the winners of this program can go on to a larger business competition at the next level and earn more money. So you've heard some of our speakers this year talk about business idea competitions and business plan competitions. And so this is one of those entrepreneurship contests that I highly recommend. Now, the informational meeting that you don't want to miss is on October 25th at 7 o'clock over in the green. I believe Steve Bracken and his wife, Joy, are both with us today. So it'll be our privilege to hear from Steve. He was born in Nephi, grew up working on a farm, honed his entrepreneurial skills early as he was part owner in a business that erected silos and sold dairy supplies. He also purchased a milk distribution business and more than quadrupled the sales of that business. He worked for Sysco Foods for about 10 years, and in that process was able to make a lot of food-oriented business contacts, which I believe he probably leveraged and utilized the knowledge that he gained as he later purchased 4 Jamba Juice franchises. And then about 4 years ago, he introduced Cold Stone Creamery and Cinnabon to the University Mall in Provo, 2 other franchise businesses. He and his wife Joy live in Utah County now, and they are the parents of 11 children. Did I get that right, Joy? Okay, she's giving me the thumbs up. And without any further ado, please welcome Mr. Steve Bracken. While I'm turning his mic on, I'll also mention that his store generously helped sponsor last year's LeaderCast event that we held in May. So we thank him for that as well.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. Very gracious introduction. Okay, one thing I don't like is standing by that thing and holding on to it. It makes me feel really insecure. So I hope the cameraman will stay with me, and if you have a question, I will repeat it back so that the mic picks up the video cast, so for future, so that everybody can hear your question. That's a little housekeeping idea or note so that we can, everybody can hear your question and you can be heard, and we'll answer it best we can. Now what I did is, I gave you an outline on that yellow flyer, okay, and I would like to kind of know, because I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. And so what I want you to do is kind of look over that, and right at the first, we're going to talk a little, Steve, what do you want me, you're going to say to me, by show of hands, what do you want to hear the most about? If it's about cash, I'll probably cut you down to a minute. But if you want to talk about mindset and skill set, we'll take the bulk of that, of the discussion today. This is a discussion. What that means is you ask me the questions around the skill sets you want to learn, or the things that you want to learn about, and I will best share with you. And one thing that the things that I've learned. And I've learned that stories sometimes portray a thought better than me standing up here and just going through an outline and reading you this boring talk. So we're not going to do that. At the end, I don't know if they told you this, but we brought some Cinnabons fresh from the bakery this morning. So after this, you can go outside and participate in that. We believe at Cinnabon that the greatest thing in life is frosting, because we believe that frosting is what makes life sweet. So if you can remember in your life, do I need a little frosting? I was talking to these guys, what's made you so relevant? I thought Cinnabon was an old company. It was actually started in 88 in Seattle, Washington, by two brothers. And so we are kind of old when you talk about 88 to you guys. To me, it's like a really young company. Because I was born in 50. I went here to this college 50 years ago. That's a half a century ago. I know. Most of you guys are my grandkids' age. Yeah. That doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I've learned a lot from my children. My 11 children taught me a lot. And I think Joy and I learned more about leadership and how to deal with people from those 11 kids than all the education. So if you want to talk about education, I'm not going to help you. You know why? I didn't quite graduate from Snow College, and I didn't quite graduate from BYU. So can I be a champion of college graduate degrees? Nope. But I am good at life, and my wife has taught me the importance of that and how to be loving and kind. Joy and I met, most everybody in here is college age. So just so I have a feel for where you guys are from and a little bit about you, how many of you are from the Sanpete County, Richfield, Sevier area? Raise your hand. Okay, about a third. When I came here, it was almost 3/4, but that's all right. That's all right. What that tells me is a lot of kids are being attracted here because of the quality of education you got. I came here because this college was rated in the top 10 in the nation in junior colleges. Still the same? Still the same. Great teachers. In fact, I still remember, I'll call him Bishop Moore because he was Bishop Moore to me, taught me over there in the old science building. I was sitting in my doctor's office one day and we were talking about sore throats. And I says, I remember in college, we did this really cool petri dish thing. We swabbed our throats and put it on there, and we've got all of the mouthwashes, Aquafresh, all the ones that were popular when I was your age, right? And then we got some Listerine and put it on that Petri dish, and we put it on there. Guess which one killed all the bacteria? It was Listerine. And I'm sitting in my doctor's office talking to this guy, and he says, I've heard this story before. He said, you had a class from Bishop Moore down at Snow College, didn't you? And I said, yeah. How'd you know? And he says, he's the only biology teacher that I know did that little Petri dish. So, anyway, it's funny how life comes back to you full circle. All right, let's talk about what you want to talk about. Okay, so you can see that, I didn't even get one of my own outlines. Thank you. All right. Let's start at the top. I do want to share with you this thought about the hardships of my early years. Let me talk about that for just 1 second, if I could. I go around and speak to junior highs all the time about going out and getting a job. They bring me in for a career day, and I have a room about like this. And usually most of the classrooms, like the FBI guy and the fire chief and the nurses and the policemen, they all have a little class of about 20 chairs. I pack them in. And I didn't the first year, but after the second and third year, they always put me in the auditorium. And the reason is the kids come in, they want to be in. Okay, so that you can kind of get a feel for how I do that, I'd like you to tell me, let me tell you this story about me. And this is what I do. I said, okay, now if you were to come in down to Juab High School in the 7th grade, there's two factors that played in there. The school, which I have to say that's my alma mater, and my dad. My dad was a 5th grade teacher / principal. What does principal tell you? Guess who gets to go visit the principal? Yeah, the kids that just kind of act up a little bit. And I know none of you in this room, because you're college students, are those kids. So, at the principal's office, the rough kids didn't really like how they were treated there. I still remember a young man who, to this day, is in the state prison. He was one of my favorite nemesis. All I know about him is that for 2 years, I used to think, how do I get out of the school and home before he beats me up? What did that teach me? How to run fast. How to outsmart him. How to get home before he caught me. Because it was 4.5 blocks from the school to my home. And he kind of learned my escape routes. I had one through the north door that went north 2.5 blocks into the city creek and up the creek to my house. So what do you think that taught me? Ingenuity, right? And so that had a big effect on me. Finally, my dad says, well, Ike says, Dad, it's your fault that he beats me up in 6th and 7th grade. And he says, why don't you be a man, stand up for yourself? If you don't face him, I'll just grab my belt and I'll take care of you here. Now, Joy has always told me, I really don't like your dad. And in 7th grade, I really didn't like my dad. And you can see why. But in 8th grade, okay, I got to tell you this. There's 66 boys in my class, right? So if I took Devon Vickers, who's the tallest boy in the class, and I went down 66 boys over to here, guess who this guy was? That was me. And so I would go to great lengths to get out of Dodge, because all the guys really had to do is kind of grab me right here and pick me up, really with one hand. Most of the boys could pick me up like this. My feet weren't touching the ground by about 6 inches. So when that happened, I had to be really creative because I learned how to get out of garbage cans upside down and how to pound on the locker loud enough the principal would come let me out. Now, at the junior high, it wasn't my dad. It was my guidance counselor, but still. Okay, so let's wrap. I need to get going on this and talk about what you want to talk about. All right, then we'll quit talking about me. But one of the things that I learned from all this was, there were actually two things. The first thing I learned was, I need to either face my dad with the belt, or I needed to punch this kid in the nose. So one day, I kept looking, I go to the mirror, I'd open up the kitchen cabinet and I'd close it, and I look in the mirror, and my dad would say, look in that mirror, who are you? A guy afraid of getting beat up or whipped by my dad. And so I finally said, I think I'll try the kid. So I went to school that day and I was determined. And he walked up to me and he did the same move for 2 years. He'd always go like this, and he'd go like this, go like this. All right, we got any boxers in the room? What's the best punch to give a guy if he's going like this into your chest and pounding your chest with his fists? A nice little uppercut like that works really good. And I wasn't a boxer and I didn't know that, but that's what came to my mind. And all of a sudden, boom, and I caught him right there and cold-cocked him right onto the floor, and he was laying there out cold. This guy outweighs me 70 pounds. And he's 5.5 inches taller than me, and he's 2 years younger than me. What do you think I did? What had I done for 2 years? Ran to the principal's office and locked the door. And the secretary said, what are you doing? Danny comes to the door, and they knew what was up. Stories travel in little schools fast, don't they? Yeah. So they all knew about Steve and what's his name. All right. Second thing that happened. When I talked to these little junior high kids, I said, okay, I'm going to back you up and back you up into Steve's life over here in 8th grade. Still in 9th grade. In 10th grade, I was still the shortest kid in the class. When I graduated from high school, I was second tallest to Devon, the center on the basketball team. He was 6'1". I was 5'11" my senior year. I was skinnier then. But I just shut up like a weed. Okay? Then I asked the kids, I say, okay, if you were to back me up and if you were to introduce Steve Bracken to you in the 8th grade, and I'm talking to 8th graders, 7th and 8th graders. If you were to meet this 8th grader, describe him to me. I love this. And I'm only telling it because it feels good. Okay? Good looking, on the baseball team, on the basketball team, dated cheerleaders. I go, wow, good looking, on the baseball team. None of the above. And they said, you're kidding me. And I always pick, as the kids would filter in, I'd always pick a cute little cheerleader. You can always tell a cheerleader, can't you? Okay, you know what I mean. And then they said, nope, this was me. I was always walking around the school like this. I could tell you how many tiles there were between the biology room and the chemistry lab. That's how often I'd go like this. One day, a little 8th grade girl, you're older than me, did this. That's what she did. I saw somebody's eyes. For the first 3 years in junior high, I'd never seen anybody's eyes. This is all she said. You're cool. This little guy that walked around like this in junior high, he didn't know how to handle that. I just didn't quite know how to observe that. So I go home and I look in that same mirror that I talked to myself about my dad. When I looked in that mirror that first day, I could hear her little voice say, "You're cool. Do you think I bought that?" Nah. After about the third week, I looked in the mirror one day and I says, "She says you're cool." What had happened? I was starting to believe this cute girl, right? So here's where I take the junior high kids. Can you make a difference in the world today? And this is what I tell them. By the end of today, I want you guys to be able to say hi to somebody you don't know at the end of the day, before the end of the day, look them right in the eye and give them a smile. How many will do that? And they'll all raise their hands. All right. I believe my goal, by the time you walk out of here today, I hope you feel something that will motivate you to be a little better person and want you to go home with the faith and the courage to believe that you can make a difference in people's lives. I know you can. I am a standing, living example of one girl in the 8th grade who said 2 words to me that turned my life around. Do you think you can? Watch the news. What's going on in the news? I don't even want to talk about that. We can't even start on that today, right? If there's one thing that I know and believe with all my heart that you need today, is the faith and hope that we have something to look forward to. And this is what I heard a young man say to me once, a long time ago when I was your age. Said this: "We need every young person in America to start a business of his own." Why do you think he said that? Question, comment. This is for you. Why do you think that gentleman from New York said that? See, I've talked too much. I should have got you asking more questions. I have something for somebody who wants to answer that question. Okay?
Because it shows how innovative we are as Americans.
This, okay, speak into the mic really close.
It shows how innovative we are as Americans.
This is what. How many of you have heard this phrase? That deserves 2 of these. These are Jamba Juice cards. Okay. I have more of those than I do the Cinnabon cards. All right. All right, and you can use that. The address is on the back. How many of you have heard of this phrase? How many of you heard of this that when people say this on TV, they say, "I believe in American exceptionalism"? Boy, you guys just must be in the internet, not on the TV, huh? What, girlfriend?
Small business drives America.
Okay. Speaking to the mic, girlfriend. This is my girlfriend, by the way. You know what's really neat? If you have a wife and she's your girlfriend, you don't need a girlfriend. Now I got your attention, didn't I? Okay.
Small business drives the American economy.
Let me ask you this. Of the taxes that go back to Washington, D.C., how much of the taxes that goes back to Washington, D.C. every year comes from small business? The percentage. Somebody give me a wild shot. 40. Who said 90? He's close, but just a little high.
85.
It's 84%. 84% of all the tax dollars are collected by guys like me, guys like you, that mom and dad, that start their own business and run their own business. Okay, so to be a functioning society, you have to have small businessmen, and we are typically called the middle class, aren't we? If you want to take over a country, what do? Say it loud. Influence is not a strong enough word. Somebody give me a stronger word than influence. You destroy the middle class. Okay. Then what do? No, you turn the poor against the rich. The country goes to pieces. Trust me. All you have to do is look around the world and check every socialist country around the world. That's how they've done it. A lot of times you'll hear on the TV this. Nah, let's not go there. Let's get down, let's talk about the things you want to talk about. All right. I get on my political pulpit and the time will be up. All right. How many want to talk about mindset? Okay, I got 1 vote for Jamie. 2. Okay. How about disciplines? 3, 4, come on. 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right, I've had 8 votes out of, 80, 90, 100 in this room? All right. What do you want to talk about? I can tell you about girlfriends. I can tell you about chasing girls. I can tell you about, you don't want to hear that. It's really boring. My wife always used to say this. You always say you used to chase girls in Sanpete County. I said, yep. I didn't want to answer that, right? It's smart not to. Then she says, I just want to know one thing. She went to College of Eastern Utah. They think differently over there than we do here at Snow College. So she asked these very, what do you call those words? Soul searching. So did you ever catch one of those girls? Sure. A couple of them. What'd you do? I kissed them. What do you think? Oh, okay. She didn't want to hear that anymore. Okay. Thanks for letting me do that, honey. Okay. Comment.
Can we talk about take learning to knowledge and action?
Okay. Take learning from, say that again really loud.
Take learning to knowledge, then to action.
Take learning to knowledge and then to action. This is the root of you being successful in business. Why? Jamie.
Tell us how you did that with your first franchise.
Okay. Which one? All right. Joy and I was working for Sysco for 10 years. And as a food salesman, I go in the back door talking to all the people that I served. Yes.
You got to talk about the dairy distribution.
Dairy distribution.
That's really your first, really big, and you had already been set up for that through different things that happened in your career.
Okay. She thinks I ought to tackle the milk business first. Okay, I bought that in 1980 in California, Grass Valley, California. Anybody from California in here? 1, 2, okay. California? California? Now, if more than 5 hands go up, I know you're not from California, right? Just pass that down. On this row. Okay. 2 on this row. Did I miss anybody? Oh, sorry, hon. Where are you from in California? And that's close to, Victorville, south. Okay, I was going to say Placerville, which they have Apple Days up there, and that's why I thought Appleville, that's close to Placerville. Okay, in California, I was a milkman, drove a milk truck for 4 years, and then I talked to the guys as they come home every night and say, okay, I knew how much they were paying for milk because I worked for the milk company, so I knew what the prices were. And I saw some of their invoices and how much they were charging for milk. Guess what started going through my mind? Well, if I have to sell X number of dollars of milk, I can make 2 times as much as I'm making now. And in those days, the minimum wage was $3.75 an hour, and I was making $10.80. I could double that or triple that being my own milkman, right? So I went to my competitor company and said, do you have any milk distribution businesses for sale? No, but we'll call you if we do. About 6 months later, I got a phone call from Crystal Cream and Butter Company in Sacramento, California. Anybody heard of that? Oh, if you were from California, you would know it's the best ice cream in California. All right, so I knew if I wanted to work for them for one reason. Everybody knew that if you sold Crystal ice cream, they would become your customer. Why? Sweet ice cream. One reason, sweet ice cream. That's why people wanted you, that I knew if I become their distributor, I could make money. So I took over a route that had been run down pretty bad. The boy that I took the business from, I didn't take it from, the company took it from him and then resold it to me, was on cocaine. He was putting $10,000 a month up his nose. It took some legal work to take the business away from him, and then they came to me. And they said, how would you like to buy this business? And I said, yeah. I only have $10,000, and I know these are expensive. And he said, we'll sell it to you for half price. Well, I knew it would be about $100,000, so I thought, half price, that's 50. That's not bad. Well, let's see. In my dad's eyes, he paid $10,000 for his house. And I'm going to buy a business for $50,000? My dad says, where are you going to get that money? I said, I got 10. He says, what about the 40? Your payments will be how much? $5,500 a month. Can you handle that payment? Yeah, I can do it, Dad. He says, well, I think you're crazy. Dad's house payment was $110. Mine was $5,500 for this business. I gave it a lot of careful thought and prayer. I says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I really believe with all my heart, if I do this right, with this company, I can do all right. When I sold the business 7 years later, I was going through a tough divorce, and we sold it. I was doing $265,000 a month and had 3 more employees. Bought 4 trucks, 3 more employees, and a night loader. Actually, I had 6 full-time employees in 7 years. So what was my success? Here they were. Not afraid to go out and talk to my competition, my competitors' clients, and ask them to come to work for me. What was my secret weapon? I told you. Who remembers? Hand in the air. What was my secret weapon? It was ice cream. There you go. All right, you were listening. That's good. My secret weapon was ice cream. All right, here's the other thing that I came to find out. As I traveled to each of these different clients that bought milk, and these would be mom and pop grocery stores. Remember the 7-Elevens? They're coming back. But back in those days, that was the new and cool thing. Well, that was cool in the city, but up in the small towns, guess who run the convenience stores? Mom and pops. So guess who I went after? I knew I couldn't get the corporate franchises, so I went after all these little mom and pop grocery stores. And guess how hard it was? You have Crystal Cream? Okay. Tough sale. So, right? I doubled my sales in 6 months because of Crystal Cream and Butter Company. Was that me? No. What happened? I chose a good company to represent, and all I had to say is I had Crystal ice cream on the truck. I can leave some today and fill your ice. You know what my competitor didn't do? He didn't fill the ice cream cabinet, and he was inconsistent with his pricing. What does that mean? Those of you in business. Okay. Her answer was?
Up and down.
Up and down. Okay, so I found out it depended on the driver who was on my competitor's truck. He had 6 drivers. If one boy came one week and another boy came the next week, guess what? It usually wasn't the same price. My next weak point. So where do you hit Goliath? Okay, I had one little truck. He had 2 40-foot semis. This is my competitor. 2 40-foot semis, 2 24-foot semis, and 4 trucks like mine. Is that David and Goliath? Oh, yeah. So if I get 100,000 business in 6 months, I'm thinking, I can double this again. So I hit him in his weak point. What's his weak point? Inconsistent pricing. Okay. So what I do, I pass out a price list to all my guests, or all my customers. All right. So what do they do in a small community? Yeah, they're at Chamber of Commerce meeting, or they're downtown, and they meet and they talk to each other. Guess what? Crystal Creamery, they charge everybody. He charges everybody the same price. If you buy $150 worth of milk, you get this price. If you buy $300, you get this price. If you get $500 on your delivery, you get this price. Everybody knew what my pricing was. Guess what happened in 6 months? I doubled it again. I've just gone, in 1 year, I've gone from 50,000 to 200,000 because of 2 things. The product I have, what's the other thing? Consistent pricing. Treat everybody fair. Everybody knew, mom and pop grocery knew that they couldn't compete with the SBD market down the street because they are a full service market. That'd be like Harmon's competing with the 7-Eleven. Who's going to win? Harmon's is going to win because they buy $3 million a month. And 7-Eleven buys 300,000, right? So, but everybody gets treated fair. It's the same. Did I cover that enough? All right. All right, let's go down to Jamba Juice. All right, so I went through the divorce, came back here, and married this cute little girlfriend over here. And I met her when I was driving a milk truck. I was her milkman. Just kidding. But I did ride up on my white bicycle and parked it on the front step, and I knocked on the door. Nah, let's not go there. She hates it when I tell that story. Okay, so I lived in Price, Utah. While I was there, I met the guy who gave me my future job, and that's working at Sysco Food for 10 years. I was the guy walking in the back door selling the food. And so I learned some things from Sysco. If you start your own mom and pop restaurant, guess how many fail? This is a national statistic, so I'm just going to throw that out there. Guess how many people fail the first year in a mom and pop restaurant? 95%. Wow, somebody's been, yeah. Is that right? Did I give it the right guy? Okay. All right, how many of those 5% that succeed, how many of those fail the second year? %60. So if you're starting your own mom and pop's restaurant, and it's Angelina's great Mexican food, boy, you better be a really good cook and have a little cash right here in the pocket, okay? Because it's going to take about 3 years to get to where you need to be to make money. You with me? 10 minutes, oh dear. Okay. So, I learned from Sysco the skill sets I needed to be successful at Jamba. And this is what Joy and I did. I got fired. I came home. And I wasn't afraid of my boss who fired me. Guess who I was afraid of? My girlfriend, yeah. Asked me if she was mad. You got fired? You don't know how to be a good boy, keep your nose clean, and not get fired? We were living in Wyoming at the time. I said, I don't know. So I always use this. I guess Heavenly Father just really doesn't want us to be here in Wyoming. How do you think that flew? Yeah, that didn't fly so good. So I knew I needed to find something else. And so we drove down we looked at several businesses in the Ogden and Salt Lake area. And then a friend, an associate, told me about Jamba Juice was for sale in Provo, Utah. Jamba Juice. Oh my gosh. When I was with Sysco Foods, my partner, I lived in Price. I was selling Sysco Foods in Price. My partner, who was the #1 salesman 3 years in a row, was the guy that sold to Zuka Juice. Who remembers Zuka Juice? Anybody? You know why? It went out of business before you were born. No. Jamba started in 1990 in California. Jamba actually came along. And how Zuka started is a girl, a really cute girl, was working at the San Luis Obispo store in San Luis Obispo, California. She came to BYU. This good-looking guy came along and says, hi, my name's Dave, I want to marry you. And they got married. And she says, I have a really good business idea, honey. I used to work at this Jamba Juice in California. So they went down to Brigham's Landing, just west of BYU Stadium, and opened a little store for $40,000. 4 boys went together. They were college kids. They had $10,000 limit on their credit card and went down and bought they tied up the lease on the property and each extended themselves out $10,000. For the franchise that cost me $240,000, they built it for $40,000. That was their first Zuka. I bought that store. It was the little store that thought it could. It went from $980,000 in sales to $310,000 when I bought it per year. So how much did they lose a year? Who said 6? All right. Good. Lost $600,000 per year in 2 years. Okay, what was the problem there, do you think?
No profit.
No. They were rolling in the dough. I promise you. There isn't another store that's hit 970,000 since in Utah. But there's 16 stores instead of 1. And they used to take their orange juice and their grape juice, and in those little 6-ounce cans you buy in the freezer, now we buy it in these big containers. Labor, they were making money hand over fist. But what they didn't do was manage their assets. Okay, what happens if you don't discipline your finances? You think you got a lot of money and you spend a lot of money, and then what happens? And what happens to the guys that spend all that money? The first year, how many of them go out of business? 90%. Okay? 95% go out of business. So Jamba Juice came along and said, okay, we want to buy. He grew his stores. He grew 100 stores, but he didn't manage that money. So he sold franchises. He didn't manage that money. And guess what? I came along and said, I'll buy that little rundown store. My dad says, what did my dad always do? It's not going to work. Not going to work. You're going to go broke. He'd always say that. I love my dad. He's a great school teacher, but he has no business mindset. All right? That's the one thing I learned. So Joy and I took off on a plane from Salt Lake City to San Diego and plotted out every Jamba Juice between San Diego and LA. There were 15 of them. We took prolific notes. It's on your... To me, if I teach you 2 things today, it's the question that was asked that got me started on this tangent, okay? And notes. Joy and I took prolific notes. Guess what we learned? We'd go into a store. It was clean, neat. You walked in the door. Hi, welcome to Jamba Juice. Okay. Then we go to the next store. Walk in. Person's back here. Oh, how long you been standing there? Oh, 2 minutes? Oh, I'm sorry. What can I get you? We look around. Floor's dirty. The windows aren't clean. The rugs aren't clean. Walk up to the counter. What's on the counter? Yeah. So, what did we learn? So, I'll share with you because I didn't tell you the answer. All right, in the first store, they were up 25% in sales over the previous year. Clean, neat, tidy, said hi. Oh, and one other little thing. Hi, okay. Everybody was dressed in Jamba shirts, and they were all in the other store. The boys, no belts. So guess what we saw? Things you don't want to see, including underwear. Yeah. Yeah, you got the picture. Okay. So it was consistent, and we asked that general manager of that store, how's your sales? Oh, we're down about 16%. My general manager, my regional manager was just here, and he's going to fire me. What's the difference between the two? Inconsistency. What was the mindset? Clean, neat, tidy, hold the standard. Over here? Oh, we don't want to talk about that, right? Just don't dwell on that. You know the answer to that, okay? So guess what Joy and I did? Came back, visited the little Provo store. And guess what we learned? Boys, no belt. Boys, no hair comb. Every kind of t-shirt in the store you can imagine. Some were gross. Not what's food. Gross sayings. In Provo, Utah? By BYU? Okay. So we walk in, there's 14, 15 employees, and we say, okay, we're going to take over the store on Monday. We want you to have, here's your Jamba shirt, your Jamba cap. We want all the boys to wear belts. We want the boys to comb your hair. Girls, we want your hair back in the ponytail. Why do we want that? Health department, hello. Okay, so we got all the girls in ponytails. We come in. Guess how many people didn't show up at work Monday? 7. Yeah, 7 out of 14, 15. So what did we have? We had a nucleus of 8 that believed in what we were going to do this store. And guess what? Me and Joy, we didn't start on the kids. We got a bucket of soap and water and cleaned the whole store, top to bottom, front to back. Now when you walk in the store, I call it the sparkle. You walk in the store, and I'll tell you this true story. How many of you know Steve Young? Anybody? Okay. Well, he was a famous quarterback, kind of, at BYU. He would not come in that Provo Jamba Juice in Provo when he came back to BYU games. You know why? He said it stunk. I met him at Costco, in the Orem Costco, and I said, Steve, it's good to see you. Here's a Jamba card. Oh, I don't go to that store. What was my problem? Bad reputation. There was a bad reputation at that store, right? Okay. All right, so we cleaned that up. Our sales went from $300,000, and we are now right around the $750,000 mark. And that's with 15 other Jambas in the state to compete with us. All right? Sometimes our own stores are our own competition. All right. I wanted to make this totally interactive. Tell me questions that you would like to ask. 1 minute. Oh.
Why did you choose a mall location instead of a non-mall location?
Okay, why did I choose the mall location instead of a strip mall? For the Cinnabon, I chose the mall because of traffic. And I talked to these girls right here, and I asked them, what's the number 1 rule of business? And they told me,
Location, location, location.
good. 1, 2, 3. All right. See, I primed them, and they did it just right. Okay, location, location, location. For Cold Stone, that's important, and it's important for Jamba Juice too. I went to the mall because the Cold Stone was going out of business. It was just, it had dropped from 650,000 to 300. It dropped in half in 2 years, 3 years. So what was he probably not doing right? All I had to do was look at the employees. It told me everything, didn't it? All I had to do was look at the floor and the windows and the counters. Did that tell me anything I needed to know? Yes. Any other questions? I'll stick around if you want to ask me questions afterwards. Any other really important? Let me just share with you one thing that I really want you to go home with today. This world is a crazy world we live in, but I believe this with all my heart. When I was 14, what happened to me? Who? A cute girl. Okay, it's really important you get that adjective in there. A cute girl said, did she ever date me? No. Did I ever fall in love with her? Yes. Secretly. But she turned my life around. Yes? Oh. Yes. He can share with his friends if he wants to, but if he doesn't want to. The Jamba way is to share. Okay. One person can make a difference in the world, one person at a time. My daughter, we were on a trip to South Carolina, and she'd go down the beach and pick up the starfish and throw them in the ocean. I said, Catherine, what are you doing? I'm saving starfish. And we're on the whole Atlantic seaboard from Florida to New York. I'm just going, one starfish. That's right, one starfish at a time. Don't forget that. Okay? Any other comments? You're welcome to stay afterwards and talk to me or whatever you want to do. Alan?
We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget your Cinnabon. Yeah, we think you're cool.
All right. Be sure and get you a Cinnabon on the way out.
They won't forget that.
All right. I didn't think